your stocks went up, you didn't quite think there was a prediction market that actually sent it higher because you have a whole host of businesses.
Well, you mentioned yourself, though, just now how prediction markets are a new source of information about real events, government shutdown being top of mind today. So I think it just illustrates the power of this technology, not just as an investment asset, but as a source of news and information and almost like a new media.
You're obviously excited about the prediction market. You want to take it outside the US. I mean, what kind of potential do you see? What conversations are you having? And what kind of feedback are you getting?
I think that the really interesting thing lately is we've been on a bit of an international tour. I just got back from Dubai. We're here in Singapore at this conference, and the rest of the world is very interested in prediction markets. I mean, in every single international conversation I'm having, it comes up, and everyone's trying to figure out their prediction market strategy. So I wouldn't have expected that necessarily. I thought it would be mainly a US thing, but I think it's going to be much bigger. How much bigger?
Can you put a number to it? And what kind of growth are you anticipating?
Well, we recently shared that there was a Piper Sandler report, actually, $200 million in annualized revenue run rate for our prediction markets business, which would make it among, if not number one, of our fastest growing businesses of all time, which, you know, we have a large crypto business. We're obviously leading in retail options and other assets. So this type of growth that we've been seeing is a little bit unique. And I think there's so many ways we could make the product better, and it's still a new product. You know, consumers are trying to figure out where it fits in the whole landscape. So we're optimistic about the future.
But there are criticisms, right? I mean, some are saying that we're seeing a blurring of lines between, you know, finance and gambling, and it doesn't necessarily sit well with some, I guess, regulators.
Yeah, anytime there's a new innovation, and I think what everyone agrees is prediction markets is an innovation. We don't really know how to bucket it. It has properties of wagering, as you've mentioned, but also active trading. The trades are happening on an exchange. There's price discovery. There's no house, as in traditional betting. So you have a lot of traders going into the market and actually trading in and out during events. And then it's a source of information. So some people are like, is it gambling? Is it trading? Is it news? And I think the reality is it has properties of both, but it's a slightly different animal, and it has the potential to disrupt each of these three major industries.
You talked about how you've been surprised by the reception, right? I mean, people are excited about the prediction market. I'm just wondering if, you know, there are countries out there which are enthusiastic, more enthusiastic than the others. I mean, which ones are they? Which markets are excited about it?
I think it's a global phenomenon. I mean, even looking outside of Robinhood, you have Polymarket, which is bringing on-chain prediction markets on the rest of the world. In the US, we have Kalshi as one of the larger exchanges, and they're going through it in the more regulated TradFi matter. So I think the really interesting thing is it sort of mirrors the TradFi crypto duopoly across all assets. Tokenized stocks, for example, which we're introducing outside of the US, are on-chain versions of the US counterpart. And in the US, we have sort of the traditional rails that are powering it. So you're going to see a similar thing where, you know, prediction markets could be a huge accelerant outside the US for the crypto ecosystem.
So it could be a big business for you eventually in what, say, 5-10 years?
I think it's already a big business for us. I think the question is how big can it get and how quickly. And you know, we're innovating, we're on the front foot, we're focused on making the product better, serving our customers. Like any tradable asset, I think Robinhood will be front and center in giving access to retail.
Let's talk about tokenization, because some people say that this could be the new ETF of finance. How do you see that playing out?
I said earlier in our chat, I think tokenization is a freight train, and it'll eat the entire financial system. But I think it'll be a very positive thing. I think that the financial system will be largely willing to go through this transition. I think what you're going to see is outside of the U.S., where there's a little bit less legacy infrastructure, and the big incumbents can consider it net new business. You'll see it, getting market dominance first, and then it'll be somewhat backported. You can see this in Robinhood's business. We launched stock tokens in the EU, which are tokenized versions of several hundred top names. We also introduced and demonstrated tokenization of OpenAI and SpaceX private companies. And as soon as that happened, we started getting lots of calls, not just from companies that wanted to know how to get involved, but also from large established counterparties, market makers, institutions. And they were asking us, they were like, wait a minute, how do we get involved? Can we provide liquidity here? Can we plug into your European offering? So I'm very optimistic that this is going to be a big shift, and we're at the very beginning of it.
You talk about a big shift, and we have to throw it out there. It's not just about stocks. It could be about bonds, real estate, and today we ran a story on the Bloomberg about how Zach Witkoff is talking possibly about tokenizing Trump's real estate. How realistic is that? How soon might that happen?
I'll tell you, it's not a technology barrier. We have the capability to tokenize all sorts of real-world assets. You saw that in our European announcement. We could tokenize privates. Obviously, we're live with tokenized versions of public equities, real estate, art, all of these assets that have been typically the domain of high net worth individuals. They've been illiquid. They've had high fees for transactions. I think you'll see those being tokenized and being packaged up and made available to the mass market. And I think real estate's a big opportunity. I think it's smart that they're aggressively pursuing that because everyone wants access to high quality real estate, particularly the mass market.
But isn't it true real estate is actually more complex? I mean, they tried this before. It hasn't really worked.
It has some similarities to a private company, actually. If you think about what a real estate investment looks like, you create a corporation. Using that corporation, you acquire some assets. It has some costs, which you want to minimize as much as possible. Maintenance. It has revenues like rent, receivables, or depending on how you use it. So if you can tokenize a private company, that same technology can actually be used to tokenize real estate, be it residential, commercial, and yeah, I think we figured out how to do it. It's just a question of regulation and what the right products are for different groups of customers. And
at Robinhood, are you in a hurry to tokenize more stocks? Because, we talk about how Wall Street is a laggard, but we've heard from the likes of NASDAQ wanting to tokenize every single stock that is traded on its exchange. Do you feel like that's potential competition there?
I don't think so. I think with NASDAQ and the other sort of traditional players, I expect them to be a late adopter of the technology. And the reason is, it's not really a technology issue or a competence issue. They're very competent, but they have lots of counterparties that they need to bring along on this. They have legacy brick and mortar based financial institutions. They want to make sure that they only move as quickly as their existing customers are able to move. And so I think they'll get there eventually, but they're not at the frontier. And that's why we're focused on our own exchange technology through Bitstamp and Robinhood Chain. I think the infrastructure is not there, which means we're going to have to build a lot of it ourselves to power our own products before the rest of the industry can catch up.
How about in terms of regulation? Some people have suggested that perhaps you're walking a tightrope.
The regulation is critical, and actually a lot of the regulators that we talk to are very, very keen to make this happen. They recognize tokenization as an innovation, and they want to be first. They don't want to be left behind. So you're seeing folks we're talking to in Europe are interested in it. They want to make sure it's safe for customers, of course. In the US, I mean, Chairman Atkins has said tokenization is happening. It is an innovation, and they're working very closely with industry to make sure it happens safely, but also quickly.
I'll be remiss not to talk about cryptocurrencies. We talk about how excited you are about it. You talk about how cryptocurrencies will be the backbone of the financial system. What gives you that optimism when, not everybody's buying into the whole concept of cryptocurrencies? Yes, they're buying into blockchain technology, but not necessarily cryptocurrencies.
I think from the very beginning, there was a belief by this community that blockchain is going to power a lot of real-world assets. This was maybe, you've heard this for much of the last 10 years. But the problem is that the technology hadn't caught up. There weren't real products in customers' hands, like stock tokens in the EU, for example. And, blockchain itself became a little bit of like a buzzword that people moved away from. They were like, okay, the blockchain thing didn't happen. Let's go to Bitcoin or meme coins. But we've always believed that the technology has very clear advantages. You have 24/7 trading, liquidity with a large global market, instant settlement. The costs of operating a blockchain-based trading system are significantly lower than a traditional trading system because you have less counterparties, less mouths to feed. Much of that is being replaced by computer software. And so I think for that reason, regulatory clarity permitting, if you have the regulatory clarity, the industry is going to move to the most efficient solution that has obvious advantages for getting customers and maintaining customers.
What are your own plans when it comes to investing in cryptocurrencies? You're all in. I know you're all in when it comes to all your different businesses, but for cryptocurrencies in particular, what's the plan there in the next 12, 24 months?
I guess there's two ways to look at cryptocurrencies. One is just as a tradable asset. You have, listing crypto native assets and making them available to our active traders, and then building out the system around that, like collateralization, borrowing, margin, perpetual futures. And we're aggressively investing there. We're already among the leaders, and we think there's a lot of tailwinds for our business in the future. The more interesting thing that I'm excited about is how do we actually get real-world assets on crypto technology? Because I think that expands the addressable market from low single-digit trillions to tens of trillions rather quickly. Because if you look at the size of the global equities market, you're talking like hundreds of trillions, and it's going to continue to grow. So it really starts to get interesting when all of those assets, public and private, get on crypto technology. Then we'll be using it without really thinking about the details of blockchain or what's happening under the hood.
And Vlad, I know that AI is a game changer. You're doing a lot of work on it. We also know that Robinhood has, I think, an investing bot that's supposed to help traders make decisions. What can it do right now? What do you think it will be able to do in the future?
Yeah, so we had our second annual event for active traders called Hood Summit. It was in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago. And there we demonstrated the next evolution of Robinhood Cortex, which is our AI tool. And we have an active trader product called Robinhood Legend. And a good analogy is active traders have some similarity to software engineers. They're using lots of screens, they have a lot of data, and they're creating a trading strategy, which you can think is very similar to a piece of computer software. So I think in the same way that AI has completely transformed the work of a software engineer, making it easier to write code, AI will make it easier to create a trading strategy. And that's the direction Cortex is heading. We want to augment the work of our active traders to make it as easy as possible to create a powerful trading strategy and introduce the guardrails to make sure that it's correct, that you can back test it. And I think we can create a lot more active traders, and we can also save a lot more time. And that's just the beginning. I mean, we've made so much progress on Cortex that we're holding an entire product event dedicated to AI that's going to be in December. So hopefully you'll see some things that you like there.
Vlad, just a quick question. I mean, there's so much optimism, right? You're investing a lot in everything that you do. Is there a risk to all the assumptions you're making right now?
I mean, there's always risks.
What's the biggest one?
I think that we have to make sure that that with any product we introduce, it's safe for customers, that customers understand it, particularly when we get into new innovations like artificial intelligence. AI models can hallucinate, right? And we have to make sure that when it's relating to your important financial services, it's as error-free as possible, like at least as error-free as humans providing the news and information. So actually we spend a lot of time, everyone wants to talk about the innovations, but it rests on a foundation of regulatory compliance, safety, and the infrastructure has to be really robust. And that's probably what takes the majority of the time when we build these products.